I don't know if you can hear that, but little Chibi is in the other chair right behind my little movable desk here, and she is clawing at the chair or the towel that she's sitting in on the chair to scrunch it up, like how dogs do, except she goes on this little, she hold on, I gotta take a picture of this. Just a second. Chibi, funny little thing. She has buried herself in the blankets, and all I can see of her is her little butt. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Okay, whatever. I was going to do an intro to this, and this is another Sabine, forgot her last name. She's a scientist lady. Her last name starts with an H, I think. But anyway, I saw a music video that she did that had been recommended to me specifically, and I was curious to check her out. I found it interesting. I'm not super sciencey. I just, understand some of the basics. And I saw this video of hers. It's titled Follow the Science? Nonsense, I say. So I'm curious to find out what she's talking about. I think I have a little bit of an idea just because I did scan through some of the comments, and I believe I get the gist of what she's going to be talking about here in the video. But let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Hi everybody. Today I want to tell you why I had to stop reading news about climate science, because it pisses me off every single time. There's all these left-wing do-gooders who think their readers are too fucking dumb to draw their own conclusions. So it's not enough to tell me what's the correlation between hurricane intensity and air moisture. No, they also have to tell me that, therefore, I should donate to save the polar bears. There's this implied link.
Oh. That's okay, hold on. I love her accent. I love the way she does the voice inflections, and she just seems like she's royally pissed right now. So, okay, all right. Let's get back to this.
Therefore, I should donate to save the polar bears. There's this implied link. Science says this, therefore you should do that. Follow the science, stop flying, follow the science, go vegan, follow the science and glue yourself to a bus, because certainly that's the logical conclusion to draw from the observed weakening of the Atlantic meridional circulation. When I was your age, we learned science does not say anything about what we should do. What we should do is a matter of opinion. Science is a matter of fact. Science tells us what situation we are in and what consequences our actions are likely to have. But it does not tell us what to do. Science does not say you shouldn't pee on high voltage lines. It says urine is an excellent conductor. Science does not say you should stop smoking. Science says nicotine narrows arteries. So if you smoke, you will probably die young, lacking a few toes. Science does not say we should cut carbon dioxide emissions. It says if we don't, then by the end of the century, estimated damages will exceed some trillion US dollars. Is that what we should go for? Well, that's a matter of opinion. Follow the science is a complete rubbish idea, because science does not know the direction. We have to decide what way to go. You'd think it's bad enough that politicians conflate scientific fact with opinion, but the media actually make it worse.
Yes, they do.
Make it worse by giving their audience the impression that it matters what someone whose job it is to execute the will of the electorate believes about scientific facts. But I couldn't care less if Donald Trump believes in climate change. Look, this is a man who can't tell herd immunity from herd mentality. He probably thinks winter's the same as an ice age. It's not his job to offer opinions about science he clearly doesn't understand. So why do you keep asking him? His job is to say, if the situation is this, we will do that. At least in principle, that's what he should be doing. Then you look up what science says, which situation we are in, and act accordingly. The problem you see, is that by conflating the two things, the facts with the opinions.
Mhm.
The media give people an excuse to hide opinions behind scientific beliefs. If you don't give a shit that today's teenagers will struggle their whole life cleaning up the mess that your generation left behind, fine, that's a totally valid opinion, but please just say it out loud so we can all hear it. Don't cover it up by telling us a story about how you weren't able to reproduce a figure in the IPCC report, even though you tried really hard for almost 10 seconds, because no one gives a shit whether you have your own theory. If you are more bothered by the prospect of rising gasoline prices than by rising sea levels, because you don't know anyone who lives by the sea anyway, then just say so. If you worry more about the pension for your friend the coal miner than about drought and famine in the developing world, because after all there's only poor people in the developing world, then just say so. If you don't give a shit about a global recession caused by natural catastrophes that eat up billion after billion, because you're a rich white guy with a big house and think you are immune to trouble, then just say so. Say it
Okay, she's making a lot of assumptions here, right? Okay. I get the point that she's trying to make, though.
guy with a big house and think you are immune to trouble, then just say so. Say it loud so we can all hear it. And all the rest of you, stop chanting. We need to follow the science. People who oppose action on climate change are not anti-science. They simply worry more that a wind farm might ruin the view from their summer vacation house than they worry wildfires will burn down the house. That's not anti-scientific, that's just dumb. But then that's only my opinion. Thank you for watching. See you next week.
Okay. All right. I didn't want it to jump forward. So I get the point that she's making here, and I agree that, well, she didn't really say it in these words, but something that was occurring to me the whole time she was talking was that basically the stuff that she's referring to is when politicians and other public figures or whatever, they basically take science, the label science, and they use it as a weapon, some sort of political tool, or even just a weapon in an online argument, and try to hide behind that to make it seem like they're saying one thing when really they're saying something else. They're not really, when they say that someone is anti-science or we should follow the science, they're not necessarily really talking about the science. They're basically really just attacking the person that disagrees with them. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to. And the whole science field is kind of, it's tricky sometimes, because some people, when they want to say a certain thing to kind of validate their point, they basically are trying to insinuate that scientists themselves are infallible, that they never do anything wrong, or they never approach something with the wrong mentality, or they never toy with the facts. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily the science itself. It's just the people involved in the science. Those are the flawed ones. And so, because in a lot of ways, science, by science, I don't mean actual real science. I mean those who are involved in the field of science, let's say scientists, whatever. That, and I'm also including people like doctors and nurses and stuff into this, because I've grown really cynical of just the medical field in general, which is also part of science. And all it took was one issue to make me very cynical about the medical field, especially Western medicine, especially medicine here in the States. And that was the subject of, well, here I come back around to it, routine male infant circumcision. For a long time, and even still, they try to claim that, oh, it's these are scientific facts is why you should violate this young baby's human rights to do this thing because the science says this. And the problem is that's not really exactly what the science says. When you dig down deeper into it, you find out that a lot of the studies that they based the science on was flawed, was manipulated. And it's like circumcision is one of those situations where doctors have tried to prop it up as being a valid sort of practice by throwing science at it and saying the science says this is the way this is right and this is what we should be doing. But it's very flawed, and it ignores a lot of other facts that refute those claims. Like I was talking about those studies that have been flawed, but they know if they say that this is something that should be done because of the science, they know if they say that that's going to be something that they can use to convince parents of and just people in general, because they're using that label, science, as a weapon to further their cause or to further what they want to continue to support. And a lot of the doctors here in the States are quite ignorant about just basic intact male anatomy. They honestly are so ignorant, it's freaking scary, you guys. And these are doctors. These are people that went to medical school for years, and they don't even understand the basics, and they give out horrible advice. They give out wrong advice to parents, which then can cause issues down the road, which then they say, oh, well, because this happened, now we need to circumcise your kid. Basically, I'm referring to things such as forced retraction, stuff like that, among other things. But the point I'm trying to make is these scientists, because it's, I consider medicine part of science, like I said, they are wrong in their advice, and yet they don't want to come back around and fully examine the facts. They want to continue to push what they are supporting, and they use that science label as their weapon of choice to convince people. It's like their propaganda. And so because of that one thing, I've grown quite cynical of a lot of scientists who kind of get into the whole field of telling people what we should do because of the science. Like she's saying science isn't telling us what to do. It's just, here are the facts. The problem is, even when they give us the facts, sometimes the facts are toyed with, or they're presented to us in a way that's manipulative. They lie by omission, or they distort the reality, much like the news media does when it comes to events or whatever. They often lie by omission, or they distort what happens. They manipulate public perception with headlines that aren't quite accurate, much in the same way that scientists will do. Like, let's say if they've got a paper or study that they want to promote and they wanted a certain outcome and it didn't end up happening the way they thought it should happen. And so then they try to take what they've discovered and twist it to suit their narrative, if that makes any sense. So in this case, really, it's not science that's the problem. It's, like I said, the people involved. And so that's kind of ties in a lot with what she's saying here. And I wish that people were kind of more able to remove themselves from that whole narrative or agenda-based thing that is very often attached to science. But unfortunately, because you've got people involved in talking about this stuff, and politicians and scientists that have been paid off by businesses, or because there's a lot of money involved in all this stuff, it's just is such a complicated thing. It really makes it hard for normal people, regular people like you and me, to fully trust what they're saying or to even fully understand, especially when you get all these conflicting um, statements from scientists. See, that's the thing. So it's frustrating just as a regular person that's not even really heavily involved in the field of science. So I can imagine that it's pretty frustrating for someone like her who just kind of seems to me to be the type of person that just wants to deal with the actual, this is the way it is, the facts and all that. Anyway, this was an interesting video to watch. I do plan to check out more of her stuff. I don't know how much more of her stuff that I will watch for the channel. If I stumble upon a video that seems pretty interesting, maybe I'll, check it out for the channel and for discussion. But as of now, probably I'll just watch her just for my own personal, just kind of knowledge or enjoyment or whatever. But we'll see. Never know what'll happen in the future. Okay, you guys, I think that is that's all for now. It's not late. I'm getting a little tired, but maybe I'll move on to something else. So that's it for this one. Adios.